The larger cultural backdrop to how we think about the ancient Greeks is constantly evolving, I think. Now, there are good books which have dealt with the legacy of ancient Greece before, but it seemed to me that the time was ripe for a reframing of this story, a reframing that would take more account of ancient Greece's increasingly universal place in today's globalized popular culture. I also felt that a popular book should show awareness of the use and abuse of ancient Greece in debates and controversies of more recent times, and indeed the present day. This meant not just seeing ancient Greeks through the usual rose-tinted glasses. So I also wanted to admit the less savoury aspects of humanity into the story of the Greek legacy and what later generations have done to it. And these are by no means always the same thing, as in, for instance, ancient and modern ideas about race, about skin colour, womanhood, and so on. To be honest, it's impossible to do justice within 2 covers to such a large subject. I wrote chiefly for the Anglosphere, with my eye above all on where I come from myself, the UK, and on the States, which I feel I know a bit from visits and from living there for a year. As for what I covered, I tried to identify central areas of Greek civilization with an undoubted resonance still today. Topics such as the modern Olympics, the Greek derivation of common words such as epidemic, the ancient Greeks as a reference point for modern sexual identities, today's continuing enthusiasm for Greek philosophy as found, for instance, in the modern Stoics movement, the tangled tale of how today's Christianities incorporate ancient Greek models, iconographic and theological. Then again, modern ideas of human beauty, especially male, and the seemingly inexhaustible inspiration which Greek history, myth and drama give to modern playwrights, novelists, filmmakers, documentary makers, not to mention creators of comic books and video games. Well, the ancient Greeks were just brilliant storytellers. Homer's 2 poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, showcase this gift in my opinion, an unbeatable way. There's plenty of fantasy and magic, but also a moving humanity, which is extraordinary given the date, 700 BCE or thereabouts. The Greeks were also incredibly gifted crafters in the visual sense of statues, of ceramics, of buildings and so on. A visit to the Greek artifacts in a world-class museum can open your eyes to just how breathtakingly skilled they were. Many people also find a thrilling beauty in these objects. As a boy, and like many children, I first got excited about the ancients via the Egyptians. In the British Museum, the mummies and those giant statues and the mysterious hieroglyphics made a great impression. Then I started learning ancient Greek at school, which was my father's idea, really. And this introduced me to the historical periods and characters of ancient Greece. It was a history in the end that I liked best, that and the objects and the ruins, especially after a first visit to Greece itself when I was 19. As with so many of us, the whole package of both ancient and modern Greece blew me away. The ancient Greeks, they created a remarkable civilization. I mean, one that other societies have wanted to take up, if only to cherry pick from, ever since. Well, it's important to acknowledge that the ancient Greeks did this thanks to fruitful cultural interactions with neighbours, especially to their east, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, and so on. In terms of social structure, they were a male-dominated, militarised patriarchy. Their attitudes to women were what we would call today misogynistic. One of their greatest thinkers, Aristotle, sought to provide theoretical justifications of what he saw as female inferiority. Despite which, I should add, ancient Greek writings by male Greeks are full of compelling portraits of women. This is one reason why ancient Athenian plays with characters like Antigone and Medea are still repeatedly staged today and in many countries across the world. Then again, Greek civilization depended at least in part on the labour of enslaved persons. They developed ways of thinking about their own ethnic superiority and the inferiority of non-Greek peoples to justify the practice of slavery. Modern misconceptions about the ancient Greeks include the idea that ancient Greek men were white-skinned, that ancient Greek attitudes to what we call homosexuality were totally relaxed, and that the modern Olympics recreate the ethos of the ancient Greek games at Olympia. So my book does a certain amount of debunking.